Hi, Lady Bridge parents and carers. This is a message from me that is mostly about how we deal with future cases of COVID-19. As you all know, we've had a case in each of our 5-year groups, and therefore all of our learners this term already have had to self-isolate for 14 days. And I stand by the decisions we've made up to now. We've followed the guidance that we've been given, and I think done the right thing at the right time to keep people safe. However, I do think we need to find a new way forward. I think we need to find a different way to manage future cases. Otherwise, there is a reasonably high chance that our learners are going to spend as much time at home as they are in school during the course of this academic year. And the situation is really troubling, and it's just not sustainable. We want our young people in school. We want them here for their learning, for their academic learning, their learning for life, for their well-being, for the future life prospects. We want them in the building, and we've got to find another way that gives us the right sort of balance between keeping everyone safe. That's not just our learners, that's our staff, and that's the families of our learners and our staff. So to balance that with the need to try and keep as many people in the building as we can and to provide a really quality educational experience. One thing, before I take you through, because I want you to understand why we're looking at a different approach, before I take you through what the different approach is. So if you sort of bear with me for the moment, and then I'll take you through what we're going to do. I should also say perhaps at this point that we're not going to be alone in this. Every school in Bolton is going to follow very, very similar protocols in the future. That is essentially what I'm going to take you through. But we made the decision prior to the meetings about that we're going to have to do something that's different. We can't continue as we are. So let me continue with the why firstly. After each of the cases that we've had, there haven't been any subsequent cases within that year group bubble, or indeed for any members of staff or for any family members of either group, which is good. And it provides us with some evidence that despite the mixing that we knew there had been within the year group bubbles, that the virus hasn't spread. I'm not suggesting for a moment the virus doesn't spread. Of course it does. And I'm fully aware that a lot of that spread is through people who are asymptomatic, who aren't showing any symptoms. And I'm also aware, of course, that we might not be aware of any subsequent cases. Assuming everyone's done as we've asked them to do and keep us in the loop, we should be aware, but I can't take that for granted. However, it just gives us a bit of confidence that it hasn't spread and that we can try something that is different and try a more track and trace approach, which is what, as I'm sure you'll know, a lot of schools across the land are following. Before I go on to what that protocol will be, we know that the virus isn't going to be going anywhere anytime soon. We can't simply wait for a vaccine and keep everyone at home. And of course, there's no certainty that a vaccine is going to be effective to enable schools to operate in a normal way. And as a school, we are really committed to learning. One of our core beliefs is that learning is for all of us. And we've got to learn from our experiences. We've got to look at how we can change our systems to keep as many people in the building as we can. So let me take you through the approach we're going to adopt. So what we're going to do is adopt the track and trace approach, but then use the bubble system as like a safety net if we have more than one case within the year group. So firstly, if and when we have a positive case in the future, assuming the learners are in school, because actually for 4 out of our 5 cases have not been in school, it's been over the weekend that we've found out, but assuming that they're in school, the year group bubble will be sent home and asked to isolate for 24 hours whilst we put in place the in-school track and trace process. It's impossible to automatically know exactly who needs to go home and who doesn't. So we need to give ourselves time to do that properly and thoroughly. And that will involve going through all of the seating plans for the classes that the learners have been in and identifying who's within a 2-meter radius in the 48 hours prior to there being symptoms. We'll also speak to the learner in question to identify their close contacts during breaks and dinners, before school, after school, corridors, all that stuff. And then we will get in touch with those families and ask those learners to continue to self-isolate for 14 days. And then we'll get in touch with everyone else and say, you can return to school. Now, at that point, let's say for one of those families, let's say you're really concerned because of the vulnerability that might be the vulnerability due to medical conditions of the learner or a family member. You can then get in touch with us and we can explore that together. And potentially what you could then do is your child could then continue to self-isolate as well, even if they've not been identified as a close contact. And what we've done is set up an email address for each year group, which is going to be really handy anyway for the future, because most of you know how to contact most of our staff, but we need to make that easier. So if your child is in year 7, obviously, if you ever want to get in touch with us about anything, but certainly for in this case, you can use this email address. You email that email address, it'll go to the learner support leads, so like the head of year in effect, although we don't call them heads of year. So the pastoral leader for the year group and a member of the senior team. And you can then, as I say, your child could self-isolate if there's vulnerable people in the household. And then, as I touched on before, if we're getting more cases within the year group bubble, we'd then be talking to public health about potentially the whole of the year group isolating, as we've done with these recent cases. As I mentioned before, other schools in Bolton, some of the schools in Bolton are adopting this approach now, and my understanding is that all schools will be adopting this approach. In order to reduce the need for us to do any of this, as I've said loads of times, the most effective thing we can do is all of us, every member of the school community, every household, every staff member, every learner, anyone in the household has symptoms, get them tested, self-isolate till you get the result, keep us informed of the situation. That's going to make more difference than anything else. Okay, so that's the main part of the message for the moment. Other things to quickly tell you about before I finish this. We got Year 10 Parents Evening, which you'll probably be watching this. So I'm recording this on Wednesday night, but you'll be getting it Thursday morning. So Thursday, today, the 1st of October, for Year 10 parents, it's Parents Evening tonight for core subjects, and then next Thursday for option subjects. We've separated it out because it's our first experience of doing it online via Teams, and it will just, by splitting it, it will reduce the amount of waiting around that you'll have to do in Microsoft Teams lobbies. That's the kind of waiting room facility in Teams. So it's our first experience of it. Be patient with us. We know it's not going to be perfect, but we've done everything we can possibly do to get it well set up and well organized. Unfortunately, the school server went down today, which was terrible timing. So some of you might say today, I'm talking on Wednesday. So the school server was down for a bit. So you might have been trying to book it at that time and thinking it's not working. Please try again if you didn't book an appointment. The appointments for Year 10s, this is, are available. You book it in the same way to how you used to book Parents' Evenings when you actually physically came into school. Sorry, that was very long-winded of me. Next bit, Microsoft Teams. Obviously, we've been doing a lot of live Teams lessons this term. And of course, during lockdown as well, we had some of that going on. What am I saying? Yeah, so there's been the odd occasion where parents have joined in to speak to a teacher about something. You might not see it on the screen, but there's loads of other learners there. So it's best not to do that. It's best to get in touch with the teacher outside of the meeting if there's anything you want to talk about with the teacher. And we're always, we want to engage with you. It's a big part of what we're about as a school. We want to work in partnership with parents. It's just then, you know, in those moments, it's not the best time to do it. What else have I got? Yeah, we're finding, we're asking all teachers for all subjects, for all learners to quickly indicate the level of engagement on a 4-point scale during these periods of self-isolation. Many of you will know as parents how hard your learners worked when they've been self-isolating, your child's work, sorry, during self-isolation. Some of you might have been at work and won't know, and it will be really useful for you to know how hard they've worked. So we'll give you that information prior to October half term. I'm looking to see if we can email it to Save the Trees. If we can't, we'll have to print it and give it to learners, and we'll tell you exactly what day they get it, so you know to ask them to get it out of the bag to have a look at it. We're looking at really creative ways in which we can manage things during those times that inevitably are going to happen, where we've got some learners from a class self-isolating and some in school. I won't tell you any more about that for now, but I think it's going to be really good. And I think we'll provide a really good offer, a remote learning offer for those that are self-isolating. Yeah, that's it really. Keep in touch with us. There's all sorts of ways you can do it. There's all those email addresses for each year group. There's the COVID keep in touch email address that we've used for the last few months during lockdown and subsequently. And then, you know, you can email me directly as well, which a lot of you do, and give us feedback on what I've put out to you today. I'm up for the feedback. I'm up for the good feedback as well as the negative stuff. I'm up for both. So tell me what you think. Tell me what you think. In all seriousness, we are desperately trying to get the right balance in a really determined way between keeping everyone safe and providing the absolute best possible educational experience that we can. That is what we're trying to do. So let's work in partnership to do just that. I will stop my screen sharing now and I will turn off this video. Take care. And yeah, that's it from me. Thanks, everyone.